Hi everyone, my name is Wayne Pollock. I'm a thought leadership ghostwriter for big law and boutique law firm partners. I help these partners build their prominence and their practices one word at a time. Conventional wisdom says that lawyers should be speaking at industry events and conferences to build their prominence, to build their authority, and to build their book of business. But if you're a prolific and consistent content creator, do you need to be speaking at conferences and events to achieve these goals? I'm not so sure you do. I think if you're a lawyer who consistently produces content that's calibrated to your target audience, it's a really good question to ask yourself whether you think you need to even speak at industry events and conferences anymore. Is there anything that speaking does that your content can't do already? When I think about comparing speaking at conferences and industry events to ongoing consistent, prolific content creation, I see a couple benefits that you get when you are consistently creating content that you don't get from your speaking at events. First, obviously the frequency. If you are pumping out blog posts a couple times a month, you're doing a weekly or a bi-weekly or even a monthly podcast, same thing with your videos, you're getting more bites at the apple than you would at a speaking event or a conference. How many possible industry events and conferences are there, even if you include webinars and Zoom appearances as opposed to appearing in person? You are almost always, if you're a consistent and prolific content creator, you are almost always going to get more reps, more chances to get out in front of your audience when you are creating content than if you are speaking at industry events and conferences. Second, with regard to your audience, there's a good chance that your audience you're speaking to online is going to be bigger than your audiences at industry events. If you think about all of the ways your content can get out there through aggregators like JD Supra or Lexology, through third-party publications that are targeted to the legal industry or to the industries that are served by your clients, or even your content being pumped out by your law firm's email blast that goes out to 5, 10, 15, 20, 30,000 people each time, you are going to be reaching more people cumulatively than if you're speaking at industry events. Third, the permanence of your content. Your content is out there. When you produce a blog post, a video, or a podcast, and people are searching for you, or they're searching for the topic, or they're browsing and they somehow come across your content, you get discovery that way. That content is out on the internet. It lives on the internet. It is there to be discovered. When you have a speaking engagement, it's often just the content that you have, the speech you gave, it's there, it's ephemeral, it leaves, maybe it's recorded and maybe it's posted online, but that's not the same, an occasional speaking engagement compared to consistently being able to be found with various pieces of content through people searching or looking up your name, your law firm, your topics that you're covering. Obviously, there's some caveats here and some cons from avoiding speaking at industry events. Maybe if you don't speak at industry events, you won't attend them. There, you're going to miss out on in-person networking. But then again, in today's age, it's easy to network over LinkedIn, over Zoom, over the phone. You do miss the in-person contact, but your networking won't come to a screeching halt if you don't attend industry events and speak at them or conferences. Also, if you don't have a fairly robust content distribution network, then you're not going to reach more people than you would if you're speaking at events. If you are not leveraging JD Supra or Lexology or third-party publications, if you are posting on LinkedIn and 5 people see your blogs every time you post a blog and you post it a couple times a month, that's not going to get you the numbers that you're going to need to get to surpass through content the people who would be listening to you speak at industry events. In terms of time spent creating content versus time spent preparing for presentations, you're probably going to spend a little bit more time consistently creating content, but as you get that flywheel going, it will take less and less time. And quite frankly, when you factor in the travel time to a conference, the prep for an industry event or a conference, it might actually be fairly close when you compare the prep time for both content and prep time for conferences. I am not suggesting that if you're a prolific content creator that you avoid going to industry events and conferences. I'm merely posing the question. If you have a consistent stream of content that you are publishing and distributing, aren't you going to be reaching more people through that content than you would be at speaking at an occasional conference or industry event? Do you need to spend as much time and energy speaking at conferences, preparing for conferences, when you could either attend them as merely a guest to network or skip them altogether because the content that you're creating consistently is doing the thought leadership building for you, is doing the authority building and the prominence building for you? It might seem crazy skipping industry events and conferences in favor of producing blog posts and videos and podcasts, but during COVID, many lawyers built their prominence, built their authority, and built their book of business by publishing content. There's no reason why lawyers can't continue to do the same even when these speaking events and conferences are back up and running.